Hi, welcome to this video of a Techno Teacher. My name is Grace. I am a teacher in North Carolina. So today I'm going to be looking at Zoom. This whole channel is meant to look at different technical tools and how parents, students, teachers, or other professionals can use them for the better. Right now, obviously we're in a big time where we have to rely on technology with the COVID-19 crisis. So this video actually probably covers a lot of basics that you already may know. I'm just going to be going over some things that I find really helpful or some ways that I found out other people didn't realize. If you can think of anything else that I didn't include, feel free to comment that below. I will be doing a second video which goes over how to set some of the settings for these things since it may not pop up that way. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and get started. So I've already started a chat with a few participants. And so when you first open or start a Zoom, this will be like if someone sends you a link or if you send out a link, you should automatically download it. It'll prompt you to download the app. It'll open it up. But once you're in the meeting is what we're focusing on. So this bar down here is pretty much all of your settings you're going to need. If you click on participants, it's going to toggle this sidebar, as you can see kind of on your right here. I don't know what it's on for you, but it'll toggle the sidebar which shows your participants. You can click on it to hide it, click on it again to show it. Same with chat. Chat's there, click on it, the chat's gone. So the first thing that happens when someone joins your meeting is they're in the waiting room. Now this basically lets you go in and decide who you want to join, especially when you have kids. This is really helpful. So you can go ahead and admit them if you know them. If you're not sure who it is, or like it has a string of numbers, you might want to contact parents to make sure that when they join a meeting, they make sure that they set their name. So you can go ahead and admit them. Speaking of names, there might be a time where you want to hide a student's full name, like if they have their full name, and you want to go ahead and rename them. That's where these three dots come in. And so here, you can have them rename them to whatever fits best. So like if you're just doing initials, that would be helpful. You especially want to do that if you're recording a Zoom. That way it's not breaching any confidentiality. From here, you can also put people back in the waiting room. So if you need for some reason them to wait right there for a second, you can do that as well. You can also, these three dots can allow you to spotlight a video. So if I wanted to spotlight my video, if I'm reading something and I'm recording it, it won't get any of the other screens, which is very helpful. And then if you're spotlighting a video, you'll see kind of up in this left-hand corner, it says cancel spotlight video. That's all I would have to do. From here, make sure you can toggle whether or not you want gallery or speaker view. The other thing you can do with these three dots is you can, if you're clicking on someone who's not the host and you're the host, you can make them the host or the co-host. Or you can ask them to start the video, and if they are muted or they are connected up, you can also ask them to unmute at this point too. So there are a couple of other features with this. So we talked about mutes right here. It's pretty self-explanatory. A couple of these are self-explanatory. With this arrow by video, you can choose to use a different camera. So for instance, if you have a document camera of some sorts hooked up, or you can do virtual backgrounds, and those are always a good time. And I'll show all of the settings for that later. Participants we talked about opens and closes this. Same with chat. You'll notice below my participants, I have this bar that has like the yes, the no, the go slower, go faster. This is nonverbal feedback. So all of them already have this. It's already like an automatic setting. And so if, I'm gonna go ahead and add in that third person to kind of demonstrate, this just lets them adds a few more features. So they can say yes, or they might say no, go slower and go faster. That's kind of a good way to keep track. They can't see what it is. They don't have access to clear it, but you can, they can go ahead and they can do that. This is also where they raise their hand. This is also helpful if you want to like say, if you ask a question, you want to know how many people say yes. Well, if you look above it, it has a 2 above the yes. So it's kind of a quick assessment that way. It also has like the taking a break or away. So you might want to kind of go over that with your kids if that's something you'd be interested in using. Then you also have the chat down here where we have who you can chat with. Now the way that our subscription works or our accounts is that there's only 3 settings. So participants can only chat with nobody, the host, or everyone. So no one's pretty helpful if it's become too much of a problem. You can still chat to them. They'll still see that. They just can't respond. Host only, I find really helpful. I use that one a lot, especially if I'm teaching like an online lesson. It's how that they can respond in a way, but they don't see everyone else's answer. That way I know that they're answering what they think, not just what they've seen ahead. Or that way also if they have like kind of like a question they want to ask you privately, it goes well for that too. And then you also have everyone publicly. This is helpful if you're reading a book or something and you want them just to go out and post what they're thinking or any questions. And that allows other students to kind of interact with it a little bit. Again, make sure you kind of teach, though, how the chat should work before you jump in with these things. All right, so we talked about chat, participants. Let's talk about sharing the screen. So with sharing the screen, once you click on this green video, it'll give you a few options. Real quick, this arrow right next to it basically says who can share the screen. So only one person at a time, more people. Once you clicked on advanced sharing settings, it'll bring up if you want other participants to be able doing it, not just the host, and so forth. So with share the screen, it's going to give you a few options. You can share your whole desktop, in which case, even if you flip back and forth to different browser tabs, it'll still be available. You can just click on one application or one tab, which I think is nice, especially if I'm trying to show something that is just about like how to get onto Google Classroom or how to get on a website. I don't really need to share everything else because that could be a distraction. It has any other applications you have up. It also has iPads. I will say about the iPads though, or iPhones, you can do via AirPlay or via a cable. So that means that the iPad is plugged into the computer. If you do it over AirPlay, it might have you need to download something first. Make sure you try that before you start a meeting. One other option is if you do AirPlay, I think you have to be on the same Wi-Fi. That's just something I've only played around with a little bit. You also have these advanced features. So if you only want to share like half your screen, or if you wanted to keep your video up and also have another secondary video, that helps. Also has this whiteboard feature. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So with this, it's a good time. It's fun. You have basically just a blank whiteboard. So you can add text. So if you want to say like hello, or if you wanted to add in something like a number or fraction or something, that's a little bit easier than trying to draw out the word. So I found that to be a little bit easier. Like, I'm not very good at writing over the mouse. You can add stamps. So whether or not you want them to focus on something, if you want them to answer a certain question, that sort of thing. Spotlight just shows what part you want them to look at. They can still see your mouse. That's just another way to really emphasize what you want. Same with an arrow, if you just want them seeing the arrow instead of the mouse. Obviously the eraser, which gets rid of one thing at a time. Clear all, undo format, where you can say, kind of control what the text or the drawing looks like. So those are some cool features. One thing I will note is I'm not doing anything on my screen right now. But let's say one of the students just brushes up against it, or they figure out that they can also draw on it. That's definitely a possibility. You'll notice that I can't do anything to, sometimes you won't be able to undo it. You can clear all their drawings, but there are times where it's just inconvenient when it pops up. So one way you can change it is if you go to these three dots at the top, where basically you have all those controls we discussed. You have like, it'll say chat, record, breakout rooms. If you go to disable attendee annotation, then they can't draw on it anymore. And that's pretty helpful if you don't want them drawing on it. Obviously, if you want them adding feedback, that's helpful, but that's just something I had to figure out as well. You can hide the video panel. This takes away all of their, all of the videos if you want to be able to record it that way, and so on. This also has a remote control, which is a pretty helpful option. You can give control to other people in the chat. And so I could say I want to give it to guest one. And now they're able to control the mouse as if it was their own. So I'm not doing anything with my mouse. That's the other person. So this is really helpful if you want them clicking or interacting with like maybe a website you have up, or different things you have on the screen, and you want to kind of give another student the opportunity to show their classmates what that looks like. You can also abort control if you need to. So that way they don't have control forever, because you don't want that necessarily. And just exiting out of that will take you out of there. Then there's also record. I recommend recording your Zooms if you can. Like if you're doing a lesson, save yourself, some of the time, don't redo it. Save your voice, record it. when you do record, I think I said spotlight your video if you don't want any other students in there. Then let's talk about breakout rooms. So I don't have a ton of experience with the breakout rooms. I haven't done it with students yet, but I've played around with it enough. But I definitely recommend, this is the part where if people want to comment below what they've done. I know a lot of other people have done video tutorials on this, and Zoom itself has a bunch of helpful settings and videos of their own. So if you go to breakout rooms, it'll first bring this up if you've not done breakout rooms for that meeting, this kind of page where it says, hey, how many rooms do you want? And do you want them to go automatically, or do you want them to go manually? So let's say I wanted 2 breakout rooms. Then I can go ahead, I set 2 breakout rooms, I want them to go manually. That basically says whether or not they choose to go or whether or not they just go automatically. So you can say create breakout rooms, and then from here it's going to bring up this page, which lets you say who's in each one, lets you rename it. So if I wanted this to be group A versus group B. So that way you can have a little bit more details. You can delete it. You can also hit assign, and this just gives you a list of people that you can assign to a breakout room. Obviously, only one person can be in there. You can move them, exchange them. That way it shows you who's where. And so there are some other options when you're starting the breakout room. If you want to add one, you can. If you want to delete it, you can. You can restart the whole thing. Once you do this, though, it does get rid of all that you've done so far. You can do it where they're only gone for like a certain amount of time. So if you want to have them only gone for 2 minutes, then after 2 minutes, it will pull them back into the original meeting. So that's pretty helpful. You can have them move in there automatically, which is nice. That's where they don't have to join. Oh, that's where they have to join. My bad. You want a countdown. That's always helpful. That stuff's pretty self-explanatory. And then once you open all the rooms, they go. So I had mine go. Now, it's important that you kind of know that when they're in the breakout rooms, if they want to leave the breakout room, they can, but it'll ask them if they want to leave that or the meeting. So once it's helpful to tell students if you want them to come back, to leave the breakout room versus leave the meeting, so they know which one is which. If you want to end it, then all you have to do is close the rooms. You can also go ahead and say a message to everyone in the breakout rooms, like you could repeat the question. So at a discussion question, you could do that, and it shows up on all of their in their rooms. And once you close the rooms, it will automatically pull them back. It usually does prompt them like, are you sure you want to leave? And they have to say leave now, and then it pulls them back, which is a pretty helpful feature. And so that's pretty much, I think, all we've gone over. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to message below, and I'll do my best to answer. Or if you think of something else, go ahead and add that on. But thank you for watching. Bye.